y'all, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. All right, it is that time of the month again for my body mod Q&A. This is something that happens monthly. It is an opportunity for you to ask me questions regarding body mods, whether those questions are about my body mods, my journey with them, or just specifically about me, or just about body mods in general. To ask a question for the next body mod Q&A, you can leave them in the comments below, or you can follow me over on Instagram, which you should do anyway, and wait for me to pop up a question box in my stories asking for those questions. Now, just as a heads up, this is gonna be changing a little bit in 2022. I'm going to be pushing this not to monthly, but potentially either every other month or quarterly. So just keep that in mind for the next one. But let's go ahead and end 2021 with a final Q&A. Heidi asks, not Pearson question, what shade of red do you use to dye your hair and what brand is the dye? So this is still technically body mod because this is not my natural hair color, so totally fine. So this particular hair color is Arctic Fox, and it is a mixture of Sunset Orange and Poison. Obviously, I use a little bit more Poison because if you look, Poison is their red shade and Sunset Orange is obviously orange. My hair is not orange, but it does kind of bring out the brightness a little bit more. So that is currently what my combination is. However, I am starting to see a hairstylist again, first time since March 2020, and I will probably be switching over to doing it professionally dyed because I am personally tired of dyeing it myself. I got too much hair now. It's too much. I can't handle it anymore. Brandy says, I'm having trouble changing the starter jewelry on my Medusa piercing. I've tried both methods you talked about in your old videos, no success. Might be that I'm nervous, I don't know, but it's not my first piercing advice. The best advice that I can give is to take a deep breath and just keep trying. Honestly, it takes a while to get used to. My preferred method, especially for my Medusa, is to have two pieces of jewelry, the one that you want to switch to and the one that you want to switch out. Have the one that you want to switch out and put the actual post part in backwards, that the flat back side of it faces out and is against the top part of your lip. And then that way when you flip your lip up, you can see the piece of jewelry under your lip. So like when you flip it up, you'll see it sticking out. And then that way you can take the post that you want to put in and just guide it through. That is the easiest, usually foolproof method to changing your jewelry. I'm sorry that you're struggling with it, and it could be that you're nervous because when I change a piercing for the first time and I'm not used to it, it definitely gets my nerves going. My rook is that way, and I've changed my rook several times, so I understand the nervousness, but that's the biggest advice that I can give with changing that one. Elizabeth says, I really want to get a labrae or Medusa piercing, but since I'm moving to Korea in a few years, I'd have to retire the piercing to get a job there. My question is, do either of those piercings scar once you retire them? Love your videos, by the way, and congratulations on your recent engagement. First of all, thank you for the congrats and the love. I appreciate it. So any piercing is going to leave a scar. Will it be super noticeable? I personally don't think they're super noticeable, but others might be able to be like, oh my God, you've got a piercing scar. What you can kind of guesstimate it'll look like is if you have a piercing, you take it out and you see the hole. That might be what it ends up looking like. Now, does that mean that is what it's gonna look like? No, but there is gonna be some type of scarring. You know, when people say that piercings aren't permanent, you can just take them out and forget about them, blah, blah, blah. There's a scar that kind of sticks around. However, there are ways to lessen the appearance of scarring. I always recommend bio oil. Bio oil helped me with my incision scars when I had my weight loss surgery. And so I always recommend it for scarring of any kind. So if you are afraid of scarring being an issue, I would advise against getting the piercing if that's the case. But if you think you can handle just even the slightest bit of scarring, I would use bio oil to lessen the appearance of it. Emily asks, do you go to the same piercer for all your piercings? So I don't go to the same piercer, I go to the same shop though, but there is one piercer there that has done the majority of my piercings, but there are also other piercers there that have pierced me. I love them all equally. There was another shop that I went to for two of my piercings, and that shop was fine. It was closer to my hometown. I prefer the one that I primarily go to, so I don't always get the piercer that has done the majority of the work, but I always go to the same shop. Jane says, I've been thinking about getting a subtle lip blush like yours, but I'm worried the inside might fade faster than the edges. I'm wondering if it could look patchy or like I'm always wearing lip liner on just the border of my lips. Do you think this might happen? If so, any tips on preventing delaying it? Thanks so much. Yes, love your content and congrats on getting engaged. Y'all are so sweet with the love and congrats. I really appreciate that. So when I got my lip blush, which speaking of which, I really need to get mine touched up because it's been a year and a half now. So I should do that before the wedding, speaking of engagement. I have not noticed noticed any patchiness. Also, sorry for doing this so much. It's really warm in my house today and I don't know why. I haven't noticed any patchiness with my lip blush. I just noticed that it's faded. But I haven't seen anything along the lines of it fading just in the middle as opposed to the outer part. My mom has also gotten lip blush before. Same thing, has not noticed any patchiness, hasn't noticed that the outer part is more darker than the inner part. So I personally wouldn't worry about it, but something that I do recommend is make sure that your lips are moisturized, because when they get dry and cracked, that could potentially fade your lips faster. Ashley asks, are you planning on getting any more piercings on your right ear? Curious because your setup is extremely similar to my plan for my left ear. So for my right ear, I'm actually considering 2 more piercings. Considering doesn't mean I'm gonna get them. But the first one is a mid helix right here that would go in line with my conch. And then potentially an anti-tragus piercing, which is right here. So those are the 2 that I'm considering for my right ear. Otherwise, I'm pretty good with how it looks. I could change my mind, but that's currently what I'm toying with. Asks, almost 2 weeks ago I pierced my own helix. I know it's not advisable, and now it's kind of swelling where the ball of my earring is already sinking, but I can still touch the ball. Do I have to worry about this or change my earring to something longer, 8 millimeters? Hoping for a reply because it's worrying me. My best advice is to make sure that it's not infected and to go see a professional piercer about it. I wouldn't even mess with it at this point. If it's swelling that bad, you need to go see a professional piercer for them to look at it and give you their best thoughts. Again, I am just a piercing enthusiast, and if it's that bad off, you need to go see a professional. And please go see a professional piercer, and they're gonna be the ones that direct you in the correct path, whether you should go see a doctor or another option. So that is gonna be my advice. Go see a professional piercer. Daniela asks, which headphones earbuds do you recommend for a tragus piercing? So it really depends on how healed your tragus piercing is. If your tragus piercing is not healed at all and is still going through the healing process, my recommendation is over-the-ear headphones, ones that cover the entire ear, because you don't want anything to be inside of your ear pushing up against that tragus piercing, because that's going to irritate it and prolong the healing process. Now, once it is completely healed, there's no problem to put earbuds in. I personally use the AirPod, Pros? The ones that are way more comfortable than the AirPods. That's what I currently use, and I have no problems with my tragus piercing, but if they are currently in the process of healing, definitely over-the-ear headphones. I would not recommend using AirPods or earbuds of any kind, because you want it to be not putting too much pressure, because like with the over-the-ear headphones, you still may find that they come in contact with the tragus, but you can also kind of shift them so they don't. So that's my recommendation. I would not put any kind of earbuds in there until they are completely healed, but that's just my personal preference. Candid Cam asks, any tips for a bratty septum clicker? Brand new piece, really doesn't want to open close. All right, bestie. I have something for you. This is a great trick that I recently learned. First of all, there is a tool that will help you open and close septum clickers, segment rings, anything like that. I personally don't own one. I probably should buy one, but I don't have one right now. Another thing you can do. Pliers. Pliers are kind of big though. It's gonna be hard for you to find small pliers unless it's like those wire pliers, but even then you could risk hurting yourself pretty bad. But I have a solution for this. Okay, so I just recently discovered this solution. Are y'all ready? So my segment rings don't always want to open, especially when they're in a piercing. For example, I had a segment ring in my rook recently. It was really cute. I wanted to change it out. That sucker was not opening no matter what I did. Here's a little trick that I've discovered. Okay, y'all ready for this? Bobby pins. All right, hear me out on it. You take the bobby pin, you slide it into the jewelry, whatever you have, and then you pull the bobby pin against the part that's gonna open, against the hinge, and it'll pop open. Try it, I swear it works. I just discovered it the other day. It was a miracle worker. Oh my God, I'm never putting a segment ring in that rook piercing again. Seriously though, yes, there is a tool. Someone's gonna comment and be like, you can buy the tool here. Okay, not all of us have the ability to get that tool right now, but a lot of us probably have bobby pins. So find something like a bobby pin. I read somewhere that you can do like nail clippers. That one kind of worries me a little bit because nail clippers are a little bit bigger than a bobby pin, but try the bobby pin, I swear. It works because you just have a little bit more room to move around with. Whereas if you're just trying to like do it with your fingers right there, it's a pain in the butt. But if you get that bobby pin right on where the hinge is of the ring, pop it open, miracle worker. And yes, I Googled that. I don't remember where I found it, but I Googled it and it was great. Zark asks, how do you deal with unsupportive people with your body mods? It depends on the unsupportive person. Really and truly, I have not come across too many unsupportive people. The main person who is unsupportive is my grandmother. And it's just because her age group, and there's no sense in me trying to argue because I'm never gonna change her mind. So in that regard, I cover up. I don't know what we're gonna do about the wedding because I'm not covering up for that, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For anyone else that has been unsupportive, I really don't know many people. Like, I can't even think of anyone that's been unsupportive. If it was anyone else, I'd just be like, whatever, that's their personal opinion. I don't really care. But because this is my grandma and I love her, it's better off just covering it up and just not discussing it. So I've never personally dealt with anyone other than her who's been unsupportive. If anyone else has dealt with unsupportive people of their body mods, leave them in the comments below like how you dealt with it. Because again, my grandmother is pretty much the only one that I've ever dealt with. Sparkly Stace asks, looking to get my nose pierced in the new year, how bad is the pain? Honestly, at this point, I don't even remember. It's been so long since I got either nostril pierced. So I really can't tell you what the pain was like. I know it's definitely like a pinch and your eyes may tear up just because of how sensitive this area is. So you may find yourself crying even though you don't mean to. You may find that it's a pinch. I personally don't think nostril piercings are painful. Others will tell you they're absolutely horrid. So everyone's experience is way different. But from what I remember, my experience was it felt like a pinch. I teared up a little bit. That was it. The healing was worse than the actual piercing itself. Panda Bear asks, any suggestions on how to use Instagram to find other tattoo artists in area one lives in? First thing that I would suggest is finding a shop in the area that you live in or an artist that you already know in the area that you live in and see who they follow. Or you can see recommended. There'll usually be like a little recommended area underneath their main profile thing. And that's how you can find some people in your area. Or you can just do a Google search, start looking at shops and then look them up on Instagram. That's what I did. Caro asks, is it harder to heal a septum piercing in the winter? I want one so bad, but I'm concerned. I would be leery of healing it in the winter just because of how cold it gets outside and the need to potentially flip it up or flip it down. That doesn't mean that you can't heal it in the winter. It just means you gotta be a little bit more conscious about keeping your nose warm, because if it gets cold then you get a little bit of frostbite thing going on and you don't want that. You don't want it to get cold at all. So I would just think of ways to maintain warmth on your nose, whether that's keeping a scarf around your face or limiting how often you go outside. But that's not to say that you can't get it done in the wintertime. Agwari asks, can I stretch my nostril ring from 20G to 18G? If so, how? Piercing is 7 months old. First of all, make sure that your piercing is completely healed before you try to stretch it. Second of all, you stretch it like you would your lobes. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult just because it is cartilage, but the best thing to do is take it nice and slow. Have your 18 gauge jewelry. Make sure that the area is lubed up, nice and clean, and just try and put it in nice and slowly. You may feel some resistance. If you feel too much resistance, definitely stop. But it's just stretching it the same as you would your lobes. Take it nice and slow, and if you feel too much resistance, if you're feeling a lot of pain, stop it. But the first thing I would recommend is make sure that that piercing is completely healed before you go for it. Kezi asks, how do you stop piercings from falling out? So it kind of depends on the piercing. My lobe jewelry falls out all the time, but no other jewelry does. It's basically a matter of checking to make sure that your jewelry is tight. Since I use threadless jewelry, basically what I do is just go around to all of my piercings every so often and pinch them just to make sure everything is snug. If you have like twist ones, the best thing to do is to go around to all of them and make sure that twisting is snug. That's the best thing I can offer for falling out. Now, if they're falling out like just completely, like full jewelry and all, then that's just saying that it's the wrong jewelry size. BWiki asks, do stretched ear jewelry fall out sometimes? Is it comfortable during sleeping? Literally just said that with the last one. These suckers don't fall out, but anytime I have a stone plug or tunnel in, they always fall out. And it's just my ears saying like, hey, we can go up another size, to which I'm like, no, stop it. We're not going anymore. Is it comfortable to sleep in? I personally would prefer sleeping in like my silicone tunnels. Way easier to sleep in. I can sleep in stone ones, but I prefer sleeping in my nice lightweight silicone ones. Izanami asks, do you have any piercings that you love but will never get? Tongue piercings. I really like the look of them, but I have decided I will never get them. Hey Dorella asks, have you heard of Geaux software? I have, but I don't have anything by them. But I've seen them on websites that I browse before. I've heard mixed things about them, but I've never actually tried them myself. Curly Hair asks, which piercings do you think are totally worth it and are not worth the risk at all? I don't really know. Not worth the risk. I guess the risk of getting your nipples done, because I hear mixed things about getting your nipples pierced. And like some people are like, I lost all feeling in them from getting it pierced. So I think that kind of scares me, but that also hasn't deterred me from thinking about getting them done. So I'm really not sure if there's any piercing, unless it's like those like extreme ones where it's like, get your subclavicle pierced. And it's like, why? Dermals for me are probably my response for that, just because I love dermals, but I know my dumb butt would somehow get them caught on something and rip them out. So that's probably my response, are dermals. I like them, but I have a feeling they wouldn't like me. Couple Stars asked, do second lobes heal the same or similarly to regular lobes? So I had both done with a piercing gun, so I am not the best person to ask for that one, just because they took forever to heal because they were done with a gun, so. Anyone want to weigh in on that one? That didn't get it done with a gun? I feel like a lot of us got it done with a gun. Lily Mac asks, how do you clean those tricky bits of your ear with a rook piercing blocking it? Do you mean like this part, the little fold where the forward helix is? I just get a Q-tip with some saline solution and just get in there. Get all around, cleaning it out. Believe me, it can get gunked up in there, so you gotta make sure that you get every nook and cranny. But that's what I do. And the last question is from Silent Jess. Do you have any special jewelry for when you get married? So I've actually already started thinking about this when in regards to my piercings. Like, what am I gonna do special for the wedding? And I think I have an idea. I don't have anything yet, but I do have an idea of how I wanna style my piercings. We're a long way off. I've got plenty of time to get these things, but I definitely want to stick with the diamond look, which is pretty much what I have now, but I'm thinking about like getting really fancy and getting like white gold or something. I don't know, something like that, just to make it a little bit more fancy. But I feel like my septum would be a really close septum clicker with little tiny diamonds, just a little bit of sparkle. I feel like my nostril piercings would be studs or potentially rings. I don't know yet. Medusa. I mean, everything would have the diamond look, but I don't have anything yet. That's where we're at. But I have started thinking about it. Believe me, I've started thinking about it. I just don't know yet. And that is it for this monthly Body Mod Q&A. If I didn't answer your question, it's because it's one I've answered before, or it was very similar to one that I answered in this video. If you would like your question answered in the next Body Mod Q&A, which I don't exactly know when that'll be, it'll either be like February or March, leave them in the comments below. This is not gonna be a monthly thing anymore. It'll either be every other month or it'll be quarterly. So thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I really do appreciate it. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye all!